Oh, Mrs. Garcia, you're a school counselor and new homeowner and grad student. You're an ANDER. National University supports the whole you, so you can focus on what matters most. Learn more at nu.edu.
The numbers told the story, they always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gill Alexander on VSiN.
Hour number 2 of a numbers game at VSiN, the sports betting network, VSiN.com, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, all proudly brought to you by DraftKings from Barcanada, the Barrage, here at the D, downtown Las Vegas. Gill Alexander, Kelley Bydlon, still to come this hour. Crackman, unscripted, from the RBC Heritage, and Luke Swain, Vegas Refund. Now, we have on this show talked extensively this week about the quarterbacks prop. 4.5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, and how the steam, and I do mean steam, went on the over. So much to the point where the over ended up getting juiced all the way to north of $3. At which point the buyback began, and I was part of that buyback, though not at its peak, where I'm just like, this is way too high, way too much bang for the buck on the under to not play it. So I have it at plus 160. I think JVT said he had it at plus 260 yesterday, which he must have hit the peak of that.
Yeah.
Good
on him. He eyes
Good
that every year. He goes on that rant every single year. And besides one recently, it's worked out for him.
I did not know that was his thing. I knew the Clippers thing was his thing.
Yeah.
But I did not know he was an under 4.5 quarterbacks guy. And I do feel like, and by the way, Luke Swain, who's coming up, of all the things he has conviction about, quarterbacks is not one of them.
Yeah.
Necessarily. But for me, it was just, we had this, and you know how it goes pre-draft season, lying season, as people like to call it, but there was that 1 week that was all about Bo Nix and the Broncos, and people started convincing themselves that Bo Nix was going to go to the Broncos. Well, Bo Nix, was there ever a point, maybe for some there was, but I remember saying it out loud a few times. Bo Nix, fine college quarterback, obviously played for 17 years of college football, I believe is the accurate number of years. But he had a tremendous year last year. But there was no point where I said to myself, well, that's a first-round NFL quarterback. I didn't.
I mean,
just from an eye test, right? And I'm just some schmendrick on a couch watching this. But there was that Broncos. The Broncos are obsessed with him at 12. Okay, I think cooler heads will prevail on that. And then we did have Daniel Jeremiah, who did have a call this morning. Daniel Jeremiah, who Luke was on that call. So Luke's going to report back about Daniel Jeremiah and his NFL draft call here earlier this morning. But one of his last mock draft, one of the things he had was Michael Penix to the Raiders. I think the Raiders picked 13th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So
that sounds right.
But he's the only one to mock that as well. So the question really comes down to, we all assume Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and J.J. McCarthy are first-round picks.
13th. Yeah.
I mean, are you going to get either Penix or Nix in the first round? Maybe, but I'll take it at plus 160, which is what I did, for the under.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's I'll go through the list one more time because I think it's just such a valuable thing to go to. Because on the one hand, we understand why teams get quarterback crazy. You are nothing without a quarterback. We've said this a million times. So I get it. You stick to the dream of, well, we got nothing at that position. Do we really want to go through another season or two where we've got nothing? Or can I wrap my mind around that if I can get Michael Penix in my camp, he's all of a sudden I can make him into a star. And can you say the same thing about Bo Nix? Can you convince yourself that can happen? But again, Kelley, since the 2020 NFL draft of first-round quarterbacks, which again is sort of the modern day thing. It's like the high on a drug that you've chased ever since. Right?
What? Yeah.
2020 was the draft where it was Tua and Herbert and Hurts and Burrow at the top of all of it. Love was in there as well. Those 5 guys were in that draft in 2020, all of whom, with the exception of Hurts, remember Hurts was a second-rounder, and we thought they overextended, the Eagles did, to draft him. But all those guys, Burrow, Tua, Herbert, Love, and Hurts, were all drafted there not only in the first round but early second. And then 2021, the very first pick was Trevor Lawrence. But after that, and Trevor Lawrence. The jury is still out for some.
Sure.
After that, Zach Wilson 2, Trey Lance 3. That was also the draft with Justin Fields and Mac Jones. 2022. This is where I think the tide. I thought the tide was going to turn because in 2022, the teams couldn't convince themselves of what I was talking about with Nix and Penix. They couldn't. The Steelers took the home talent from Pitt, Kenny Pickett.
I mean,
right?
Yeah, this draft was unbelievable.
But that's all they took in the first. That was the only quarterback taken in the first round. And the rest of that draft featured Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Bailey Zappi, Sam Howell, Chris Oladokun, Skylar Thompson, and then it was saved by the very last pick of that draft, Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. Last year, and again,
it's incredible that we're 2 years removed from that, and you can already say who the slam dunk best quarterback of that draft was, and it was the last pick of the draft.
You might be able to say it about last year's because Bryce Young went first, as we sadly know. Then it was C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson, and we'll find out about Anthony Richardson. But after that, Kelley,
he's gonna be a stud.
Will Levis, Malik Hooker, Jake Hayner, Bennett O'Connell got some run, Clayton Tune, DTR.
Hey, DTR started a game.
Yeah,
or two.
Sean Clifford, Jaron Hall, Tanner McKee, Max Duggan. You know who actually played was 2 undrafted quarterbacks, Tyson Bagent, secret agent man, and Tommy DeVito.
That's right.
So I guess what I'm saying is even 1 year removed, we think we have a sense of a draft with quarterbacks. Basically what I'm saying is, can you get one team to convince themselves of Penix or Nix in the first round when the track record of this is so bad? So bad. Talk about the NFL draft being the most inexact science there is. Inexact science is almost a compliment. It's a crapshoot. And it's a Mendoza line at best in batting average with these guys.
So here's my thought, and JVT kind of made me think more about this yesterday. Well, I wish I loaded up way more originally on that first over 4.5 at even money, so I could be coming in heavier on this now, because I completely agree with you. That's where I'd be betting it if I had to bet it now, is under the 4.5. And what JVT brought up yesterday I thought was interesting because, I mean, yes, I had some crazy Levis ticket for him to go number 1, but that dude fell out of the first round. I have more confidence in the future of Will Levis than I do of Penix Jr. or Bo Nix. And a lot of that, and some of that has to do with age. Don't get me wrong. But, it is, I think it's tough. And you've talked about it. Can one of these teams get one of these guys in camp and make them into something? Yeah, maybe. But, you got to do that right away. These guys are going to be 24 years old. At what point?
Bo Nix is already 20.
Yeah, age has to matter at some point from when you're drafting these guys. And if you think either one of them is a project, which I think most reports would indicate that's the case, right? They're not going in day one and starting. If that's not the case, we're talking about they're starting at age 25, 26, 27.
Even in a league where we did the big one of the biggest development of quarterbacks over the last 5 years is that it almost skipped a generation, right? The Bradys and the Rodgers played quarterback. Brady's his own thing, which is just a complete outlier. But remember, with the exception of Russell Wilson, there were just years where there was no successful quarterback after this great group of Hall of Famers kept getting older and older and older, and there was no one to really replace them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But Penix is going to be 24 in 20 days. Bo Nix is already 24. It's kind of like the Gilbert Arenas. I don't know if you saw this Gilbert Arenas rant. He's got a lot of rants.
Yeah.
But someone was praising Jaime Jaquez for having this great rookie season with the Heat. And as Gilbert Arenas does, he pushes back on stuff. And he's like, yeah, but you have to grade Jaime Jaquez differently than all these other guys because Jaime Jaquez is 21 years old, right?
Yes, correct.
These other guys are babies. They're teenagers, right? So, you do have to factor that into the equation. He wasn't saying that Jaime Jaquez didn't have a great rookie season. He did. But there is some draft. What he was pointing out was you have to have some kind of difference in evaluation because you are talking about years of difference. And so that is part of the calculus. I don't think Bo Nix, even if he was 21, is a first-round pick, quite frankly.
Right. And that's
Michael Penix, maybe you can talk yourself into it with his arm.
Yeah.
But who was it? Yes, there was some anonymous NFL scout yesterday that was just saying, like, he has no accuracy whatsoever. So, I mean, or he didn't say no accuracy whatsoever. Those are my words. He just said he doesn't really have the fine ability to pinpoint his passes.
Yeah.
Let me not go too crazy.
And having said all of that, Gill.
Yeah. Yeah. All it takes is one team.
I will still not blame any team for drafting any of these quarterbacks. As much as they might get crushed, I am a firm believer in you can't do anything in this league without a quarterback. So if you have to keep trying over and over again, I don't really care.
The J.J. McCarthy thing is going to be fascinating as the years go on because there's really a referendum on J.J. McCarthy, but what he stands for, which is here was this guy that won a national title, right, 15-0 with Michigan, but wasn't asked to do as much. When he was asked to do, he was great. Right? He made big plays on third downs. He did everything right. But he's the guy, again, where when you watched him play college football, again, to the average observer, you didn't think of him as a top 5 pick. And now you get all these rumors about teams, they'll absolutely trade up for him. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But the fact that we've been talking about it is just, it's going to be fascinating to see where his career goes. Because if he turns out to be successful, it ought to toggle our brains to, we really have to be cognizant of what system he was in and that sort of thing. On the other hand, if he doesn't turn out to be anything, we have to remember this moment and be like, again, we all went crazy with some nonsense we convinced ourselves of. We, by the way, the general consensus. I have not convinced myself of it. But all of this stuff is fascinating.
It really is. It really is. And just that, I think the overall, just that age is becoming a factor and will be a factor in the draft is fascinating.
Yeah. 24 years old, not spring chickens, that's for sure. Crackman from RBC, if we can get a hold of him in front of the Lighthouse. And Luke Swain from Vegas Refund coming up on the draft. It's a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Have you checked out the new vsin.com? You should. On today's website, front page, if you will, Adam Burke on today's MLB card is a short, truncated Thursday getaway day NFL card, but he's got thoughts. And Matt Humans has his mock draft 1.0. Oh.
There we go. Yeah, Humans does that every year.
He does. Here's what I like about Humans' mock drafts. No trades allowed. I like that.
Oh, me too.
Me too.
That means me and you might even win a bet or two in there.
That's right. I'll check it out at vsin.com. Best bets, betting splits, exclusive articles, odds by state, betting tools, betting guides. Check it out. Ladies and gentlemen, not by the Lighthouse because there is no Wi-Fi, but it's unscripted with the crack man, Bill Krackomberger. Get it! Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Krackomberger, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line in South Carolina at the RBC Heritage, but no Wi-Fi out by the Lighthouse. And I just want to warn everybody. No Kangol. You may not recognize this man. Baseball-capped Bill Krackomberger. What's happening?
Yeah, I got a Masters hat on from the Masters. But I was out there, and literally, you guys can picture me running back, try to get back to the Wi-Fi area. But I had a great view of the Lighthouse, Callaboogie Sound, a lot of history to this golf course, and this is like one of my favorite tournaments of the year. I actually like this better than the Masters. The history of the Masters, of course, is better, but this is an easier course to walk. My buddy has a place right here on 18, so it's unbelievable. And now what's going on here, people don't realize this too. So since the LIV Tour was developed here, the PGA, they've been robbing the players every year, so now they're finally giving back some money. Just to let you know, 5 short years ago, the entire purse of the tournament was $3.6 million. This year, first prize is $3.6 million. I mean, it's $20 million. That's why all the big names from the PGA Tour are here. Scheffler, McIlroy. I mean, you can go on and on to the greatest names in the PGA. And the reason why they are here is for the money. $20 million, no cut. Like you guys say there on the screen, really good golf tournament to gamble on. And I'll just tell you right now, I bet against McIlroy on a lot. This kind of course usually doesn't set up for someone like him. long ball hitter, and this is a good course, I think, to bet against him. I made a few. Matter of fact, he doesn't tee off for a couple hours, so there's probably still some matchups that you could bet against him. Last week I gave out a winner. Thank God, it's amazing. So last week I give out a winner on the show, Matsuyama against Spieth.
Easy winner, Bill.
Yeah, who would think that Matsuyama was like 6 over?
That's a great one. Yeah.
6 over after 2 days, and to win that tournament when Spieth was 9 over. But then again, Spieth didn't make the cut, and Matsuyama did. I think 5. He finished 5 over for day 2. So that was, at least that was a winner. Today I bet. I think there's still some McIlroy bets you can go against. So whoever you can go against. I think anyone. I love Fleetwood versus McIlroy. I don't know if you can get that one still. Cantlay versus McIlroy. I bet Lowry over to Gal. I bet Lowry over Siwoo. I made a lot of bets here because, I always have some good information. But I've been waiting for a year to tell this story on air. Because last year when I was here broadcasting live, I have really good caddy connections. So talking to a couple of the caddies, and I say good caddy connections, finally after 25 years of talking to caddies, I think they know nothing. Just to let you know, you want to see, oh my God, this is good inside information. I think these caddies, they love to drink and they love to tell tales. So, but we've had Casey Kerr on over the years.
Yes, we have.
And it wasn't from Casey. It was from I'm not going to say who because he's still a major caddy out there. This information was from a giant caddy last year. He said, listen, you can bet all you can against Thomas Dietrich. He is not at the tournament. This was Wednesday, 12 hours before he had a tee off. Never, didn't get a practice stroke in or anything. Didn't want to really be here. Sponsorship commitments made him be, he's not a top golfer, but he's a big name. Matter of fact, he's going to do better this year, I think. But, bet against Dietrich. Whatever it is, he doesn't want to play. He is not going to make the cut. This came from a top caddy that was involved. I'll just tell you that. So, sure enough, I put a large bet. We got down a large bet against Dietrich, 5-figure bet against Dietrich, and the only one he was up against was a guy named Fox. So he goes up a guy. I don't know Fox's first name.
Ryan
Adam,
Fox.
maybe I don't know. Ryan. Imagine I don't even know his name. Ryan Fox. That's right. So Ryan Fox is the only matchup against him. We bet Ryan Fox. And what does Ryan Fox do? He withdraws after the first day. And don't you know, Dietrich didn't make the cut. He did terrible, just like the caddy said he was going to do. But you can never predict what the other golfer matched up against him is. There was one withdrawal last year. It was Ryan Fox. I mean, oh, my God. These stories. But just so happens that we actually bailed out. For the entire tournament, we actually won, my buddies and I, on matchups. Overcame the big decision, but you just don't know. When people say things are, I hate that word, lock. People say things are locks and in the bag, and just like last week, Matsuyama, that was a lucky win. I mean, the guy's 6 over at one time and winds up winning because, one of the greatest golfers in the world, Jordan Spieth winds up 9 over, not playing well. So there's a luck segment to all these things. And I only mention this because, all this talk about, fixes and college basketball, pro basketball and props. And, every year I've been talking about, come on, there's no such thing. And, fix is the biggest 3-letter word. I'll tell you, I understand why people get like they get because of the situations that are out there. But I just think what I could bet at a sports book, and even Joe Public, I do a show with Jeff Schwartz on Fox on the weekends, former NFL player. And so Jeff texted me yesterday. He says, Crack, you're not going to believe this. I'm limited to $10 at a sports book that just opened here in North Carolina. And I was like, wait a minute, Jeff. Now, I hate to say, I'm not trying to embarrass Jeff or nothing, but Jeff is by no means a pro. He makes a lot of bets, a lot of volume. By the way, nothing like $100 to $500 a bet. That's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not. But he's not betting giant money where they have to sweat him so much. And already, just because he won a little Masters bet, like he's up like $3,000. They limited them to $10.
It's amazing.
That's unbelievable.
It's amazing.
10 grocery dollars. So,
Yeah.
so when I see Jeff Schwartz getting limited to $10, I say to myself, how can someone get down 80,000 on a prop? Or,
That's great.
It's unbelievable what's happening out there, and it just goes to show you, though, it's so hard to get down. But yet, if you're a loser, if you have a casino host, a lot of these people came on. People don't know this. The host, the sports betting host that went over to the big sports books, they came from the casino side, and so that they recruited them from a gambling segment, of the population. So they took them out of the gambling field, and they put them in the sports betting field. And even these hosts, they have no idea. People getting limited. Like, how can that be? I'm trying to get customers in here, and you guys are limiting them. I'll still say it. Listen, the risk department sometimes, they cut people off. This is for all the sports books. They cut these people off, not even looking at there's only been legalized gambling in Carolina for less than a month.
Yeah.
How can you cut people off? Jeff's not betting Steam. He doesn't even know what Steam is.
Bill, we've talked about this so many times where it's.
I know.
I've said,
sorry.
No, I don't mean it like that. What I've said is legalized sportsbooks profiling of players is a joke compared to, say, the offshores that have been there forever, right? Like, offshores can tell you exactly how good or bad a bettor is. But legalized sports books, and look, they'll probably admit it to themselves also. But their ability to, they've probably left so much money on the table, limiting folks because the very first time they show up, they hit a tennis parlay, right? Or the case that you were just talking about, he hits a Masters bet. And so they're like, he's great. We can't have this guy betting here. And who knows, right? Who knows how much money they could have profited off this player over time.
That is a cut right there. That's a Twitter clip. The guy won $3,000. Big deal. $3,000. By the way, on a major golf tournament, the Masters, and they cut him to 10 grocery dollars. Like I always say, there's an old lady at the hot dog cart in Arthur Avenue booking out of her bra more than $10. That's ridiculous.
By the way,
unbelievable.
We got to run, Bill, because we only have 30 seconds. But rank Hilton Head in terms of your destinations in this country. Where does it rank for you?
Well, I'll tell you what. I've been here so many times, 20-some years, literally 25 out of 27 years. I'll put this right up in the top 2 or 3. I love Hilton Head.
Wow, there it is. All right, Bill Krackomberger not wearing a Kangol. This was very hard. Just like, okay, this is Crack I'm talking to.
Hey, that's me.
Totally.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for making the time, Bill. I know it was tough out there by the lighthouse, but thank you for running back. Appreciate it. Bill Krackomberger, everybody, at Bill Crackman with a K. Wise Cracks is the name of the podcast. He does it with John Orlando. We'll come back with Luke Swain, Vegas refund on the NFL draft, all his bets and thoughts. Next on A Numbers Game at VEASAN, the Sports Betting Network. For a limited time, we're offering 2 weeks of our exclusive betting splits for free. Just sign up at VEASAN.com/splits. The VEASAN betting splits page is updated with DraftKings odds every 5 minutes, so you can see changes in all the action. Find out where the public is betting based on the number of tickets and where the money does not match the public opinion. You can check out not just today's action, but future events as well. Take advantage of this limited time offer. Visit VEASAN.com/splits now to claim your free 2-week access to VEASAN's betting splits. Don't strike out. Do not on potential winnings. Visit VEASAN.com/splits. Start making smarter bets today. It's Gill Alexander. It's Kelley Bydlon. It's a numbers game live from Bar Canada at the D. Always a pleasure to have this gentleman on the show. Writes for the Action Network. You know him on Twitter as Vegas Refund. We know him as Luke Swain, and he joins us now to talk NFL draft, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. Good morning to you, Luke. How you doing, man?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We were joking about this off air. As poor form as this to start the interview, I'm going to start by not asking you about your opinion, but that yesterday you were on a conference call with Daniel Jeremiah. First of all, who gets invited to this how many people are allowed on this conference call?
Yeah, so every year he's done it where it's a 2-hour long, basically Q&A that he's going to be he does with, I guess, the media, where really it's tough to listen to. And there was a link for the live video that I guess anyone could listen into, which it was kind of buried and hard to find, but I found it, got in, listened to the entire thing. Some of the questions were tough. Some of the reporters were asking questions like, evaluations on Canadian players in the draft. It's like like next question, please. But there were definitely some good nuggets taken away from the 2-hour-long conference call they did. And right now we're kind of scraping for anything worthy in terms of like betting off of. And this is definitely the best thing we got.
All right. Well, but before we get to your thoughts, give us his good nuggets. What did you learn?
Yeah, so a couple nuggets that I think are all bettable off of were, the first one was Byron Murphy being a top 10 surprise pick that you wouldn't be shocked to happen, which his top 10 odds right now I think are 7-1, maybe higher depending on the book. There might be like a 10-1 out there. And then he also, I think one of the most notable things he brought up is he spoke to like the consensus wide receivers in like the 20s, which maybe they're Adonde Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, and he kind of got into thinking that what the consensus is to the media or public on what receivers are going to go late in the first, he thinks might slide out of the first, and guys that we have projected in the second might sneak in, which could create first-round bet values as well. And the common narrative we've heard a lot is that the receivers are going to go later than we think due to just the depth of that position in this draft and the scarcity of guys like offensive linemen. Then the last one, and this one was honestly a shocker, but DJ puts out his top 50, and outside of his top 50, like you really don't know his rankings. And he dropped a nugget on Tanner McLaughlin out of Arizona to be his second-ranked tight end, which I immediately looked up second tight end to be drafted. And at the time, he was 100-1. He's not that anymore. It's still juicy, but he admitted that he was probably higher on him than teams. But again, like Jeremiah is probably the closest thing we have to what teams are thinking in terms of like the mainstream media. And him saying that when we really wouldn't have a view on his like positional rankings was very notable. He had Bowers going to the Jets. He thinks it would be Fuaga, Fitano in that order if Bowers isn't there. You had Chop Robinson or Riser could be the second edge off the board, and that's pretty much it. But there's a transcript online if you're a big control find guy. It's like I think 40 pages long.
Wow,
worth going through.
I guess he does it because rather than answering everybody's individual interview requests, now he's just like he sits on his throne and he takes all comers and they can get it all in once. Good for him. Okay, so Tanner McLaughlin, second tight end, another prop we don't have in Nevada, Kelley, anywhere.
Yeah, it's like second tight end.
I was going to say second tight end. What kind of sci-fi props are you talking about? All right, Luke, let's get to your thoughts. Let me begin with the Denver Broncos at number 12. There was so much talk about them falling in love with Bo Nix. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think one of the better value opportunities out there right now is going to be the Broncos positional odds. So Broncos to draft a tight end first, wide receiver first, whatever it is. And right now, if you look at those odds, quarterback is heavily favored. I think it was about minus 110, maybe higher a week ago. I think it's even odds now. But if you're of the opinion, like myself, that Bo Nix isn't going to be drafted by the Broncos at number 12, then these odds have value. I think offensive line, which could be is 9-1, 10-1, depending on the book, or corner, which is 5 to 6 to 1, are great bets. And I mean, defensive line, I wouldn't be against that either, which is 3 to 1 currently. And if you just remove quarterback from the equation in terms of these odds, and it wasn't as heavily favored, probably all three of these positions odds would be cut in half. O-line would probably be like 4 to 1 instead of the 10 to 1s. So I'm of the opinion they're not going to take a quarterback at 12, assuming they draft there, and that the other positions have a ton of value currently.
All right, we just talked about Tyler McLaughlin and going second in terms of tight ends. Who would be your second offensive lineman going in this draft?
Right now, I think in terms of I think Fitano has the best value, which would be the Jets at 10, assuming they don't take Bowers if they don't. But right now, I think the most opportunity is with the offensive lineman because it is so elite that every person you ask is probably going to have a different order. The second lineman, I would probably say Fitano or Latham have the best value. But if I was making a mock draft, it would probably be Fuaga.
By the way, I said Tyler McLaughlin. Of course, I meant Tanner McLaughlin. Okay, what about, do you have any specific thoughts on draft positions late in the first round?
So there are, like, Circa's one book that has all the way up to, I think it's like 130. But right now, like, I think like my best advice to that is there is a lot of value. They're hand moving each one. I would definitely default to big boards over mock drafts if you're trying to bet an over under outside of the first round. But I think the receivers are going to fall like off of Jeremiah. So whether that's Xavier Worthy, I think Adonde Mitchell is a little bit overvalued right now at 27.5. I wouldn't bet the under, even though guys like Schefter, who to me is too mainstream to really value and bet off of his opinion. But I think the overs on the late receivers are probably the way to go currently.
Okay. And also in that same vein, we talked obviously about the Jeremiah intel that Byron Murphy could be a surprise top 10 pick. His position is slotted at 18.5, so I assume you would go under there.
Yeah, so that was actually my first bet I made of this draft season was Murphy under 18.5. Now it's at 16.5. I still would only bet the under. A lot of mock drafts have him going to the Bengals or the Rams, which is 18 and 19. And I mean, Jeremiah said it a couple weeks ago. Rugler came out today on a podcast saying his range is 8 to 18, which is in that sweet spot of the over-under. And also, ironically, starts with the Falcons, which is kind of the same vein of what Jeremiah said yesterday with the Falcons being that surprise team to take Murphy. But, yeah, I don't see him. He's the guy that it seems like every guy we trust is touting that he's going to go way earlier than what the media thinks.
Jared Verse of FSU, who, unbeknownst to him, played exhibition football all year last year. We were watching, Kelley and I saw an ESPN graphic about who Atlanta was going to pick at 8. Everyone had Dallas Turner, with the exception of one person who had Jared Verse. He's at 14.5. Which way are you betting on Verse?
So I would like the over on the Verse prop, where to me there are rumors that he's going to go in the top 10 to maybe the Bears. But for me, if he doesn't go to the Bears at 9, then he's going to fly over and probably go in the range of like 16, 17, 18, maybe later. But Verse, it's like, if you want to pair Jared Verse to go top 10 or to go number 9 with the over, I think that's a good hedge that I'm not doing, but it could be fun. But I think Verse is a over or bust. And the only way it would go under is just better playing like exact odds.
All right.
Top 10 for him.
All right, Luke, we got 60 seconds. Let's do these rapid fire. Graham Barton is at 23.5. Over or under?
Under, definitely.
J.C. Latham, 14.5. Over or under?
I would say under. I would not lay juice with him, though, heavy.
If you can get plus money under, you'd lay it that way. Okay. Yeah. Quinion Mitchell.
I think that's still an over. I think Terrion Arnold has a lot of steam. If you asked me the same question a week or two ago, I would definitely say under. But with the Arnold hype, I think Mitchell is definitely an overplay at this point.
And he's set at 13.5, I should say. And lastly, Tyler Guyton at 29.5.
That is a under. I think it should be 24.5.
Luke, I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. Vegas refund. Again, by the way, give him the street cred that we gave him earlier. Nothing but positive money gain in all NFL drafts and NBA drafts, with the exception, like so many of us, of last year's NFL draft. Let's get back at it. Thank you so much, Luke. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Luke Swain at Vegas Refund from The Athletic. Appreciate that. Interesting Daniel Jeremiah intel as well. Don't miss out on any of the NBA playoff action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in tournament through the finals, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code VSIN. New customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's code VSIN, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. We get tweets at Beating the Book. Always appreciate the feedback. By the way, what are we seeing on? We're immediately, whatever Luke said, we're like rushing to see what's available here in Nevada.
Well, yeah, it was Byron Murphy top 10 plus 650 at DraftKings. The only book that has, I think the only book, I could be wrong, I
think it is.
The only book here in Nevada listing top 10 props has him at plus 350.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was that one, and then we were laughing about the McLaughlin second tight end to be drafted, but that is the only tight end prop actually that's up at DraftKings right now because number one's just assumed to be Brock Bowers. So he is 20-1 there, where he had mentioned he was 100-1. Yesterday?
But it's so funny because when he said that, you and I didn't lock eyes on this.
We thought the same thing, though.
Here in Nevada, him saying second tight end drafted, he might as well have said the fourth place kicker drafted, or I'm thinking something ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
That might actually be easy. But like the seventh,
Yes, no on will a other college athlete other than a football player be drafted in the
That's right.
It might as well have been the same thing.
It will be the third holder drafted. We get tweets at Beating the Book. I always appreciate the feedback from everybody, really. Best listeners in the game.
Luke is awesome.
He's awesome.
He is, however you can consume his information in this time
100%.
of year is well worth your time if you are betting on the drafts.
And he really acted as a reporter for us on the Jeremiah conference call, because that's awesome. And by the way, he wanted to talk about it, just in case you're like, oh, that was bad form, asking him for the opinion of someone else.
Yeah, no,
he wanted to talk about it.
He prefaced it with saying he thought there was a lot of betting nuggets in there worth it for us.
We get tweets. Corbin, sorry, Gill, to be the bearer of bad news, but I believe that your Guardians' win total is now officially jinxed. If it does lose, you can solely blame it on, what is this? Is this, there's a Twitter, there's an Instagram page that mistakenly posted a Guardians GIF that had them with the best record in baseball at 12-5. Well, they were yesterday. Not anymore. Cowboys _Cubs 1. I'm guessing Bill Krackomberger is in Toasty's gallery, just like VJ. He sees Crack in all black with a Kangol, and he's thinking the mob is following him. Do you remember that story?
Yeah.
The VJ Singh story? VJ Singh, looking at Crack like, what the heck?
Oh, man. I miss VJ stories, period. Remember the whole 6-month period where deer antler spray was a thing?
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
Alabama football got tied up in it? And then somehow VJ Singh was the only golfer that was I use deer antler spray. What's the problem with it?
Bruce Dobingen, Bo Nix the elder, he says.
Yeah.
Oh, Jordan Pagel, I'm so glad you brought this up.
Tanner McLaughlin down to 18-1. Good job, audience.
There you go. McLaughlin is 18-1 now?
I just have it pulled up in front of me.
Tanner McLaughlin, tight end, Arizona, now down to 18-1. Didn't we do that? Jordan Pagel, I can't believe you guys haven't discussed this. Oh, he's so right, because every morning I've meant to discuss this. He goes, Caesar's revolutionary strategy to put up draft props and have you guess the player you're betting on.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah,
okay, so Caesars has pages of draft props. The only problem is that about 4 of them
it's specifically with draft position.
So there's
draft position, you will get a number.
It's over 16.5, minus 195, under 16.5, plus 155. There's only one problem. There's no player.
How have we not done
The next one, over 26.5, minus 330, under 26.5, plus 250. Oh, man, I got to bet this. Except I don't know who they're talking about. There's pages of this. Thank you, Jordan.
I wish I could say that's the only sport and market I've encountered that problem with there. If you wanted to look at the exactas for the NBA championship, same thing.
Yeah.
I think you get one team. It's like Boston Celtics, 30-1, and you're like, well, who are they beating?
But it's like when somebody is Caesars has tons of draft props, except no one knows what they are.
I don't know if you've had the same reaction as I have when I've pulled those up, and I'm like, well, I'm moving on to the next book because I'm not spending you actually you could hit over, go to your bet slip, and then I think it shows it there, but I'm not going through every single one of those.
Oh, it does if you put it in a bet slip?
I believe so, yes.
It magically appears in the bet slip?
Yeah, the name will appear in the bet slip.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
But I'm not going through every single one.
Eric Biggio, you should know about this. Chance Copperpot. You speak of age being a factor for the quarterbacks in this draft. I feel like you guys are forgetting about the illustrious career of one Chris Wenke, pride of Cretin-Durham High School and FSU. Chris Wenke was 26 years old playing at FSU when he won the Heisman. He won the Heisman, Kelley.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, New York Morty, good one. Just a heads up for next weekend. MLB's playing in Mexico City, April 27, 28. Last year, remember, they kept the books didn't really acknowledge the fact that they were in Mexico City with the high elevation.
Really?
And so the totals remained at 8.5. Let's keep our eyes out for that. Elevation, Kelley. Remember, elevation is above sea level, ladies and gentlemen. Altitude is how far up I am from the ground right now.
Oh, man.
Just want to point that out.
That was one of my favorite moments on primetime action.
Reopened. Oh, me and Matt were getting into it.
That was the most I've ever witnessed on air or off air. Matt Brown and Gill Alexander argue about something was altitude versus elevation, the definition of each.
And what we determined is they're used so interchangeably now that no one cares and both are accepted.
Pretty much.
Right? Okay. By the way, that 8.5 last year reopened to 15.5 a few hours later. New York Morty points out. So something to keep an eye on. He's absolutely right. And then Keen, Cranepool, earthquakes in
the baseball total?
Yeah, in Mexico City next week. Earthquakes in the Northeast. NBA players making $5 parlays, pineapple on pizza, and now Crackman appearing on Sans' trademark Kangol instead with a Masters baseball cap. I don't know if I can go on, he says basically. Hey, Raj Body, nice to be back. He goes, beautiful dynasty. I was talking about the Warriors. Talking about my Warriors commentary from yesterday. He goes, a beautiful dynasty that also changed the way NBA basketball is played now. Thanks for this, Gill. Yeah, thank you for everybody who wrote in about the Warriors tribute. Pouring out of 40. DRS, Gangsta-lean, for those who are in the know. Can I mention one thing about this Jonte Porter thing?
Of course.
So the NBA has banned Jonte Porter. When this first came out, this story, we talked about it juxtaposed against the Shohei story, and my whole thing was that day I was like, oh, Jonte, he's completely guilty. Like I was like, the elements are in place for this to be completely guilty. And then with Shohei, I was like, hey, y'all might be right that he's doing it, but actually he could be telling the truth, right? That was the very first day what we said on this. So the NBA has, as you probably didn't miss it, you probably heard that they have banned Jonte Porter. I just want to say one thing about this reaction, which is, and I think it needs to be said, because a lot of people are saying, well, this is exactly, a lot of people think they have a very evolved take when they say, this is exactly what regulated sports betting markets are there for. This is precisely why they, got him, eliminating the fact that they took $80,000 on this prop bet. And I just want to add in that it does conveniently leave out one element, which is you're giving regulated sports markets credit for the policing of this. But on the other hand, it's the regulated sports market that are creating the vehicles that make this kind of thing even possible, right? The construct of same-game parlays or props on marginal players creates an environment where this kind of thing can happen. So again, when the people talk about, regulated versus unregulated, it's actually, in this case, it's actually not a complete argument. I just want to point that out, that same-game parlays don't exist in unregulated markets at all, where you can manipulate something, right? And props on lesser players, I don't want to say they don't exist at all, but they certainly don't exist nearly to the extent. I haven't checked recently to see if you would. My instinct is that those don't exist very often either in terms of the pillars. I don't know about the lesser offshore shops. I don't talk about the pillars. So I just want to say that has to be added to that conversation where it's like, hey, yeah, like this is going to happen if a player who's making, relatively speaking, very little money, Jonte Porter making low, middle-ish six figures as opposed to 8 or 9 figure contracts, right? That a guy like that is there are going to be guys like that can't resist the temptation of either by themselves or through a gambler that they're feeding information to, trying to exploit those kinds of things. So just when you hear people making that argument, I just want to point out that it's a broader conversation.
Yeah, no, I think that the way you just put it too goes back to the way we talk, our initial reaction to the discussion about banning props on college players, right? It's only you're only talking about a marginal step up when you're talking about a guy like Jonte Porter, right? You are. I think you put it really well put it really well that day, unlike I'm doing right now. Just take the temptation away from the college kids, right? And it gets tricky when I think you make that jump from college to pro, and where do you draw the line?
And that's already banned in many states.
Yeah.
You can't. We don't have props on college sports. I
think on some of this stuff, it's a great conversation because where do you draw the line is something that we've got to figure out with all of this.
You're staying away from the 2 games tonight? Nothing in the play-ins? Actually, tomorrow night, the elimination game?
Nothing. My brain is so fried from late
NBA.
Sorry. I'm like, what day is it?
Me too. As you can tell, so the elimination game's tomorrow night. And again, injuries abound. That's how we started this show. That's how we will end this show. The Celtics' mythical prop of how many losses in the Eastern Conference falls to 4.5 now, I think. We've done all we can do. Gojo and Golic are next. Enjoy from VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Oh, Mrs. Garcia, you're a school counselor and new homeowner and grad student. You're an ander. National University supports the whole you, so you can focus on what matters most. Learn more at nu.edu.